How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to go and do this Northern Aegis installation exploration video. Try saying that 3 times. Yeah, just to start off, this is the setup I'm running. You can mix and match as you want, but I can't guarantee results. Like, I know that this setup I'm running worked, got the job done and all the rest of it. So, I've got the Zix 605R at the front. I've got 2 loafs on him. We've got the pink loaf. The pink loaf has got a advanced winch, and I'd recommend a roof rack as well. The blue loaf has got an autonomous winch, and strictly speaking, you don't need the roof rack for that. It's just force of habit for me, and as I'm restaging the video, like, I'll have my loaf. It's just another loaf with a roof rack for me. But I definitely recommend loafs. You'll see why throughout the video. Yeah, then I'm towing a maintenance trailer behind that, and then behind that I'm winching a Yar 87. Now, for me personally, I originally took another loaf and a prototype trailer instead of the Yar. However, knowing what I know now, there's a little bit of death ice that literally took me half an hour, 45 minutes to cross in the Zix, whereas it'll take 30-45 seconds in the Yar, so it's worth just taking that. Right, so we'll get stuck in. This is the route I took from like my garage in Erskine River to the entrance to the Northern Aegis installation map. I did zoom in on it, but I needed to get this video under an hour because it doesn't let me make videos longer than an hour. This was the Yar trolling me. It's worth it for the death ice, but getting it there. I mean, look at it. It rolled at a perfect time that it slotted my trailer behind that telegraph pole to where my sideboard's kind of bumping up against it. I had to disconnect the trailer. It was right pain in the ass. This is just to show you quickly as well, but I don't normally use the Yar a lot. I've now got a winch to the top centre middle of it, and it won't tip. It's so bad for tipping back to its wheels. I'd have the advanced winch on the Yar, and the reason is, even if you have the autonomous, if you roll, it can rarely get itself back to its wheels, even though you've got the winch. It'll just scrape along on its side all day long. So, for the one bit you need the Yar for, don't roll it, is my advice. Be careful. Take your time. Yeah, so this is coming up to the entrance now. Yeah, there's the little loading screen. You've got like a little missile facility. I mean, I assume to a degree that's probably why it's in the arse end of nowhere, to where no one can really get easy access to. So, here I am at the gateway. That's my little setup. I had another Zix with a crane. I brought that last time, but I didn't really need it. So, this is the route in general. This is the map now. It's fully uncovered. You've got a watchtower up there. That'll be the second one I go for, because you've got one there, basically, that's a bit awkward to get to say the least. And then over this side of the map, you've got a watchtower about there, which, yeah, we'll get to that nearer the end of the video. The location of the engine as well, skip to like 49 minutes exactly, if you want to see where that one is. So, start off down the road. The reason why I don't go left, because there's a roadblock there. As you go a little further, you cut off into the trees. The reason you don't follow the road, there's another bridge out there, and even if you fix the bridge, it needs 2 wooden planks. Carry further along, there's another bridge that's out, and now you're kind of stuck on this little island peninsula that's sticking out. You're surrounded by water everywhere. You'd probably have to come down, cut through the death ice, and even then you're not even where you want to be, so just forget all that. Veer off left. You'll see the track going through the trees. I'm about to do the gameplay anyway. When you get to here, that's where your Yar 87 is going to break off down this hill and cut across this ice that, like I said, took me literally 30-45 minutes with a Zix. The Zix and the loafs and everything, though, are going to carry on, cut back through to the road, so you basically got round that first roadblock. Cut down here, go round that little bit, there's a little bit of death ice there, but go forward, cut down that road, or you can go down that way. You're basically heading back to this, but the more kind of ice you can avoid, the better. The reason you can't go up there, because there's a roadblock there. Yeah, so you kind of cut along, I suppose, what we'll call the beach, but that's probably not a great description, but for the sakes of the video, it'll do. Yeah, the reason why I can't just drive it all the way along the edge of the beach then is because there's like a rock in the way there. So, as you can see, I've kind of gone back through a little zigzaggy line in the forest. When you get to this main road, just stop for a second, kind of like, because we're going to head up here for a minute. Follow this road up. This is now going into like the top corner of the map, and get to this little settlement here. You can disconnect the trailer and leave it where we just stopped, but take your Zix and the 2 loafs, and we're going to send the loaf up this mountain in a completely like just freestyling up the mountain. We're not using road. Well, when we get to here, you'll connect to a road. Yeah, and then the watchtower's just there at the top. It's the loaf made this ridiculously easy compared to what the game was trying to make it. So, well worth taking. Yeah, 2 loafs at least. Preferably 3. Well, no, the Yar is better for getting over the death ice. The loaf can most of the time get over the death ice, but as soon as it breaks through, it's screwed. So now I'm joining back up to where we just dropped the trailer off before I went on to that little detour. Cut along this road, you've got a bridge there. It's actually a working bridge, which is pretty nice. Keep going along. When you get to this point, you want to veer off to the left, because there's like... theoretically, the path is through there, but it's horrific. It's hard not to tip. And even if you do that, you're going to have to follow all this longer way round to get to there. Whereas, I promise you, you'll see in the footage, this way is perfectly fine. I could fit a Zix through the trees. I had no issues. Certainly less than I did trying to go the other bloody way. And it's shorter and everything in the long run anyway. You pop out right next to this building. Yeah. And then you get onto this main road, basically. So once you're on the main road, you're going to like loop round the bottom of that kind of installation with a big ball on top. The bridge is out there, so you're going to cut off to the right, go down here. Thankfully, this death ice isn't really death ice. It's pretty normal, pretty balanced, to be fair. But you're going to essentially cut across the river. Once you get to this point, it looks like you can go left or right, basically. The watchtower's up there. You could, in theory, try and go along this way. I never did. I would recommend going up this way, snake up the road. Take a left, as you'll see, kind of veering off to the edge of the map, going uphill, just before you get to, like, you can see a river cutting through the road a little further to the right. At that point, you're going to have to disconnect your last loaf, because that little gap in the rocks is too narrow for your truck. And then we're driving the loaf along the top little cliff edges here, really. Just sort of getting a quick overview of the map where we are again. We're pretty much on the opposite end from the gateway. Yeah, again, the loaf is pretty good at zipping along these little narrow cliff edges, and then there's the watchtower there. Again, I'll get to the... that last little line is to the upgrade, but it skipped 49 minutes if you want to just see that one. Yeah, so now we're setting off. This is a bit of gameplay. So again, like I say, the Zix, it's definitely got certain weaknesses. Like obviously the chain is a biggie. I suppose as far as like this isn't really cargo concerned, but you can't have a little crane on it, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I still overall I do think this was a good one to take, because it is pretty decent at not tipping. And through certain sections of like various levels of death ice and death snow and death mud, this thing does actually, albeit very slowly, it crawls through it better than like the... I would probably say in that sense better than the Tatrin and the Dolphin and stuff like that. Obviously the Dolphin goes up icy roads a lot better. Yeah, there's various things that does better. Again, I don't think this is an all-out the new best truck in the game, but it's got certain characteristics that, yeah, are fairly strong and fairly I don't know, kind of desirable with these current maps anyway. I mean, this map, I really couldn't stand it by the end. By the time I'd finished this yesterday, yeah, I didn't like this map at all. But being able to restage it and being able to cut out every single mistake and wrong turn and all the rest of it, I mean, it's close, but I actually managed to get as near as makes no difference unedited footage of the whole scouting of this map and the upgrade in less than an hour. So, I mean, obviously, call it 2 hours max it's going to take you, because I've been able to edit tiny little bits out, but essentially you're going to see the whole run, so there ain't that much. I just edited, there you go, for example, I edited about 30-40 seconds out of there for some reason. It's one of the few edits, but yeah, for whatever reason, it's just really, really slow at driving through that little patch of water. And yeah, the whole video came to about 62 minutes, I believe, and again, it won't let me upload and render a video longer than an hour. It's weird. It lets me have up to 80 minutes of room to edit stuff, but I have to get it below 60, otherwise it'll just say there's some kind of error. Yeah, so carrying along just a little bit down the road, that's where you see you swerve off left through the trees. You can see like the tracked road marks and everything. Again, if you carry on following the road I was just on, a little bit further down and round the corner, you'll get to a bridge, and there's rocks and immovable trees, like they've blocked that off, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I definitely wouldn't rely on it, and even if you did get that way, I don't think it's just the best way to go. There's nothing out that way that's going to help you. Yeah, so like you say, we're sort of zipping along the trees now, and as you can see, it's pretty slow progress overall, but at least now with the route I've drawn, it's kind of constant progress. There's no hiccups, there's no, yeah, I can kind of point out. I have to say, it almost like, obviously I can't, it's never going to happen, but I wish I could watch this video before I did this, because this map would have been a lot more fun, or at least less annoying. Like, it would have been pretty normal. But yeah, the amount of times that, I mean, that's why I was specifically pointing out those roadblocks a minute ago, because it's just roadblock, 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 and when you're trying to reverse this stupid bloody maintenance trailer and all that, it's just, yeah, then it all starts to snowball and all the little bugs start taking effect, and it's like, when things go smoothly, you avoid 90% of the bugs, because you're just plain sailing, you're squeezing the throttle, you're watching where you're steering, blah blah blah. So yeah, like I say, just keep following the little track along. This is where we're going to split off now with the R87, and once we get to this first watchtower, just, it's up to you, but I wouldn't bother bringing the R back to join up, because you're not going to need it for the rest of the scouting, and yeah, it's just dead weight. So you're going to cut across that little bit of ice. You can see on the other side there's a little road going up there that you'll pretty easily see, and then yeah, the watchtower's at the top, and this is basically the only road to this watchtower, so you can't really approach from the other side because it's kind of all surrounded by cliffs on all sides except this road leading up. So going down here, this is where I'm saying though, just maybe, you know, not just floor it flat out down here, because if you roll the R, you've now got to bring your Zix down here, or you know what I mean, it's all just, yeah, you create a lot of hassle you could really do without, and like I said, it's so terrible for not being able to get back to its wheels that you're best off just making sure you don't roll in the first place. And again, I don't know why they made it so terrible with that, because realistically, this truck in real life, it's obviously going to have like a metal chassis and blah blah blah, but the actual structure of the truck is all fiberglass. It's like a Russian truck, and it's even got a little engine in it compared to the size of the thing and all the rest of it. Again, to keep the weight down, it's got massive balloon wheels. See, this is the death eye. From 5 seconds ago to about in 5-10 seconds time, that's what took me 30 to 45 minutes, and that is not an exaggeration. In the end, in fact, I had to winch the Lo4f around the front of the Zix, and the Lo4f pulled me out. Like, I mean, it's a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Again, definitely take Lo4fs on this one. Like, you'd be crazy not to. At this point, I think I get, yeah, a little bit more cracking. I was like, oh, hell no. I'm making that gap. Just get to dry land. It's the last thing I want to do. But you can see, this broke the ice a little bit, but fortunately, because it's got those big balloon wheels, it kind of, yeah, it doesn't just completely punch through, and was able to kind of drop the hammer and just get out of there. But yeah, again, I don't know why they've punished this truck as far as like the tipping, the weight distribution characteristics, because in real life its weight should be extremely low down and it should be light overall. I mean, I suppose as far as lightness goes, they've kind of represented that with how it doesn't punch through the ice that easily, but the weight distribution is literally like turned up on its head. It should be the opposite to what it is. This should be one of the easiest vehicles to flip back to its wheels, really. This should be like Lo4f levels of good at getting back to its wheels, but it's pretty much the exact opposite of a Lo4f. And that's a large reason why I don't use this a lot, and it's a shame, because I like the look of it. It's pretty cool. It's six-wheeler. It's got certain things that it does well. It's pretty good at climbing rocks for what it is. Yeah, it's just that. That's what kills it. And I mean, again, you got sections like this where it is what it is. I mean, I can't say 100%, but I got a feeling the Dolphin would go this slow through here, the Zix would be similar, the Lo4f would, this would, I think just about everything would. They appear to have, like, the new standard of snow on these maps is as such that, yeah, there's not, that's where it sort of is just a little bit disappointing. It's like they've not given us the answers to these terrain issues. Like, yeah, they just need to open up, free up the amount of tyres. Like, for example, if I could put these tyres on the Lo4f, he would have got over the death ice with no issues, and it's like, in real life, I could do it. In fact, I've got a video on my phone of a Lo4f with tank tracks, a six-wheeled Lo4f, yeah, all kinds of stuff, all just different setups of, like, yeah, near enough military-grade Lo4fs. Goddamn horse. So yeah, this is the first watchtower, a little view. Also, this is the only one that gives you kind of a reasonable view of the map. You can see that ball off in the distance that I assume is some like big radar thing or whatever that sorts all the missiles out. So yeah, now just abandon the yard there, switch back to your Zix with your Lo4fs and your maintenance trailer, and then cut back down this road. Essentially, like I said, to the main road now, where you're on the opposite side of that first roadblock. So this is another reason why overall I would say the Zix is worth taking. It's pretty good for not tipping. There's a few sections where you do lean quite heavily on this, and considering both these Lo4fs, as you'll see by the end of this video, that neither of them will be on the Zix, they're all getting used, but I needed to carry them like this to transport everything in one go, and the fact that they just sit on the roof without making this vehicle really any tippier is yeah, just pretty handy. I mean, again, like, for this map, I will say it's definitely worth it. However, if you've seen any of my videos, you know full well I'm bringing a loaf with me regardless. Even if it was just one gigantic flat car park map, I'd still be like fitting as many loafs as I could on everything. But in fact, if it was a flat map, I'd have a loaf on the bloody maintenance trailer as well. I can guarantee it. But yeah, like, they legit, the real deal goddamn horse of a vehicle in this, as far as this map goes. So, like I said, keep following the road down. There's like a little river cutting the road away, but you got to loop round a bit. You get a tiny bit of death ice here, but fortunately it's like barely the length of your truck. So you kind of like, you're getting out before you're even in, really. And another thing I have to say, to be fair to the Zix, considering it's not got chain tyres, which are pretty handy for clawing it onto and over rocks, etc., this is pretty decent at being able to climb some pretty large sized rocks, because it's got pretty nice ground clearance and fairly big tyres. Are they 61-inch tyres? Again, the Twinstay I believe are 63, but yeah, you're talking like among the biggest in the game, other than say specialist stuff like the Antarctic or the Cat 770G. So this is now where I'm veering off to the right, and I'm going to cut down this little path basically to get back to what I was calling the beach. It's basically more like a frozen edge of a river, but for the sakes of explaining it all on a beach, it'll do. I'll just sing its praises about climbing over rocks. So even there, I get tip in, it's like, it soon flicks back. It's all good. And in certain situations, I don't believe, in fact I can't remember, so I can't say for certain, can you have a trailer on the R87? Because if you can, it possibly could have been worth bringing a prototype I don't know. I'm not going to lie, with the setup I ran, bringing the prototype trailer, the radar trailer, was handy in some ways, but if you're watching this video, you ain't really going to need it. Like, just take it on faith that I'm sending you the right way. Once you've uncovered the map, if you can find a quicker, easier way than what I'm doing, let us know. But I kind of feel like I got to this answer via finding every single bloody wrong path there was, so I didn't get it the easy way. This route was earned. So now we're on the beach. Try and stay as close to, say, land as you can. Maybe if I was like a couple of truck widths over to the right, it might not be crazy breakable ice. Where I am now, it's just that even though it's breaking, it's not reaching its full depth to where it's like really slows you down. And again, this ice field, yeah, it's pretty fair and balanced, especially in a truck like this. I could appreciate if I'm driving along, again, in like a pretty normal, non-off-road focused truck, that it'd get stuck, but something like this should just be, yeah, gobbling the terrain up for breakfast. So this is the point now where it won't let me kind of go further ahead because there's a rock in the way, so I'm going to kind of wiggle my way, zigzag back through the forest. But as you can see, it's left little paths and gaps, so knowing what I know now, the map makes a lot more sense to a degree, but it's still going to be a bit of a brutal map to do any missions on. I found an 8-slot rocket transportation trailer in like the absolute opposite end from the gateway. Yeah, somebody's already said you're going to have to get that back, I believe, to Erskine River, so I'm going to have to drag that from like, yeah. Which will be fun. Might be worth clearing a few roadblocks first, to be honest, before you bother attempting that. And the majority of this map, it's roads like this, it's terrain like this. There's certain sections we'll get to later. This first bit, it's boring me, it's just slow, there's not a whole lot going on, but there's certain sections on this map that I actually, just those very specific points are probably some of my more favourite parts in the entire game, because again, like I said, instead of lazy difficulty where they just think being made to go slower equals more difficulty, which it doesn't, there's some serious technical bits on this map that were actually, yeah, a lot of fun, and you had to think about it and you had to pay attention, and it was that's what I want. Like, keeps you engaged, got a little bit of you increase your heart rate while you're like, oh god. It's kind of high stakes, because if you roll it, there's no garage on this map or anything, so you're going to be recovering to Erskine River. Personally, I'm not going to lie, I didn't really need to do it on this recreation of driving around, but Yesterday, when I actually scouted the whole thing, I don't know, 10, 15 times, I probably like quickly saved the footage, quit the game and reloaded it. And yeah, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the game saves like every minute. So if you turn the game off without it saving, say 30 seconds after it last saved, when you reload the game up, it'll skip you back 30 seconds. So if you roll and you're quick, you can quit the game, reload the game, and you'll basically rewind your game 30 seconds odd just before you rolled, basically. So you kind of, yeah, get yourself a second chance. It was at this point, I was trying to drive, my cat suddenly jumped up, he's like, want some fuss, headbutting the remote. I'm like holding the remote in the air, trying to drive one-handed. He was, yeah, having the time of his life, but he knows how to try and sabotage my map runs. So at this point, I swerved a little far around the corner. Where I got to there, you can see this telegraph pole next to me. Just stop about here, I drop the trailer off, don't forget to transfer some supplies over. But now, just wait there for a second, we're going to go up this way into the top corner of the map. Get to the, like, yeah, this little settlement here. So you can see the beach down the bottom. I apologise, this is probably the most unclear bit of the video, but it isn't great. If you were just following what I'm doing and driving where I'm driving, all I did was cut out where I drove like 3 truck lengths too far behind me. So I just reversed back up. Sorry, that was just because I saved the footage and sometimes it doesn't start recording again for another 10 seconds. So I was just faffing around, making things happen on screen to get it kicked in again. This little bit I fast forward. There's not many bits that this happens, but this was one of the few where, again, there's not really anything technical going on here. It makes you go very slow along here, sadly. But yeah, drop your trailer off, like I say, take this little setup with both your loafs, and we're about to use the blue loaf. You just, as you can see from the snow, it'd be possible, it probably wouldn't be that much slower to be fair, if you got the loaf out at the bottom and winched him along all these trees and all the rest of it, but there's no point. You've got enough fuel, as long as you bring that maintenance trailer, there's more than enough. I mean, in the end, I never even dipped into the fuel on the Zix or any of the loaf roof racks or anything like that. Looked like a little height restriction there, but the loaf, he knows what he's doing, he's goddamn professional. He makes it under them bridges with height restrictions as well. Yeah, this is probably the last little bit that I just sped up again because I needed to get it under 60 minutes. As you can see, yeah, just sort of a slow crawl. Once you get to this section, I was just checking, do I want to veer off to the left or right? It's the right I want to go. It speeds up a little bit more. Apparently these are all main roads. I think I disagree with the game on the the definition of a main road, but it is what it is. It's better than Death Snow. Well, close. And when you actually get to the settlement point, you can go straight through, and opposite it, it looks like there's some rocks to climb and all the rest of it, but I was trying it, and it was a complete troll, even with chain tyres on one of my loafs that I brought. It was like just skidding on ice on some of these rocks. The chain didn't seem to do any benefit whatsoever, hence why I have got both of them with muds on again, because the muds are the best on the loaf. Yeah, there ain't really any debate on that one. I do love me loaf muds. Yeah, as you can see though, the road kind of, speed-wise anyway, opens up a little bit more, lets you drop the hammer a little bit. So once you get to this point, you can see like a church in the middle, and there's like a little tall chapel, bell-end looking thing to the left. We're going to reverse up near that. Some kind of mission, cargo management. There'll be a square nearby, I assume, that's like a mission you can grab. I've probably already grabbed it, that's probably why that cargo management bit was showing up. Yeah, this little thing here you can see that's like just a little tower, but there's not much else, like it's not very big. Yeah, it's definitely not what she said. Now, stop your Zix, unpack your trucks, switch to in this case my blue loaf. I mean, again, you can not bring loafs if you want, but you can bring whatever you like, but I can't say if it'll work or not. I just know for a fact that this thing is a beast, and it gets the job done. So jump out the back of the trailer. Normally you can jump out there in one, but because I'm landing into like pretty thick snow, it sort of digs his rear bumper in a bit. Again, those wheels are a little bit odd when it comes to getting over the sideboard, but it's all good. Stick a winch on, zip me way around. And again, this is like the recreated footage. I was going to splice in a lot of the original stuff, but by the time the fact that this all just worked out pretty nicely. The only reason I'm saying that is, for some reason, for the first 2 minutes driving up here, I hit nearly every tree going. There's some pretty terrible driving from me. Right now, you're just trying to punch through these branches. It's pretty easy, just stick winches to trees in front. But I was just saying, this little section will take you 20 or 30 seconds just to get through them trees, but it'll speed up a lot from here. Just need that to get off my roof rack. There it is. And we're good. Well, the funny thing is, by going this way, is there's no super snow. And why is there no super snow? Because the devs never planned on you going this way. And because they didn't plan on you going this way, they didn't bend the terrain over and fuck it for us and make it horrifically boring and terrible. So it's just normal. It's like old base map snow, where you can just have a good old time. Again, I mean, look, I was like, why am I hitting every tree going? Lo4f's got the turning circle of a housefly. See? And then I overturned and hit that tree. I was like, what the hell am I up to? I'll kind of show you a little, like, when I get a little bit further at the top. But essentially, this big rock that's to my right, you're going round the left-hand side of that. When we just cut through that, like, first little bush where the branch was holding me back, yeah, I'm going round the left-hand side of this big rock. Once we're kind of, that's out the way, now we've got, like, stage 2. And you see, this is why I would put an autonomous winch on this particular Lo4f, because you don't need massive reach at the minute. You just, yeah, if you get a little section like that, I mean, if I couldn't tip him back there, that's kind of like what I'd do my quit and reload thing, but you know what I mean. I don't usually set off without a prepared Lo4f, so I'm all good. I knew what he was getting into. Yeah, and in the end, I'm kind of veering off a little bit to the left again. Basically, running up this mountain is like loads of little, should we say, sort of veins of rock, where you got, like, you see a little gully between a little veins of rock either side of me. You're just trying to find a nice little straight gap. Yeah, and fly up between them, really. And you just keep going up the hill. And again, I mean, look how just nicely, and I would argue about fairly, we're travelling through snow that's, you know, like a quarter, a third of your wheels deep, so not that crazy. Oh man, look at it, it's enjoyable to watch. Imagine how good it felt when I was doing it. That's what she said. Yeah, when we get a little bit further up here, you'll kind of see we'll just meet back with the road. The road that the devs intended you to use, so in no surprise to anybody, I just went 4 times faster up the side of a snowy mountain than I'm going to on a designated road. So, I basically see that, like, you can see the little lines running up the mountain. There's where I just set off from. I went up there, and there. Like, it's as clear as I can get it because there's no road. And now you're pretty bloody close to the watchtower. Again, I sped this up, I think, just ×2, but you see what I mean? And if I go left to the left or the right of the road, it'll still be super snow. They would have coded super snow on and to the sides of every single road, but once you go too far away from the road, they just give up bothering, and it goes back to normal snow, aka normal snow, enjoyable snow, fun snow, game playable snow. But we're at the top of the hill. Yeah, I mean, took me twice as long as that little sped up bit, but job's good. And there's my Lo4f. Here's one I made earlier. The actual little observation point is kind of nearer the tower. I just kind of zipped through. I've seen another Lo4f. I was off to say hello. I was like, hang on, why is it not saying launch observation? There it is. There's some of that. Like I said with it, I think this one, yeah, look, you can't really tell a lot of anything. Kind of views blocked mostly by the trees in the foreground. Goddamn horse of a vehicle though, well worth getting, because I can bet money that you wouldn't have got the Zix up that route, and you won't be getting it up the route the game intends either. So now, I've cut that bit out, but I've just drove my Zix back to where I dropped the trailer off. You're just doubling back on yourself back to like the main little section. So you want to cut along here, go over that bridge. Again, you get to that point with that trollish rock. We'll get to there and then I'll carry on from there. I'm just kind of doing it in little sections. And then the rest of this section, really, I actually quite like this next bit overall. Like, considering how horrific the map felt yesterday and all the rest of it, Yeah, I actually believe this is now getting into a section, not quite yet, but we're coming up to where there's a little bit of technicality involved and all the rest of it, and yeah, like in that sense, thumbs up. It's a shame they just kill the rest of the map with just stupid laziness, because if certain sections were just not so needlessly brutal, this would actually be quite a fun, adventurous, like I said, high stakes, risky map. But yeah, sort of loop round the bottom of that rock, go through a little bit of river. You're going to get to the top here and kind of sweep round to the right. It is a road, but there's a few bits. You'll see a bit coming up where there's a tree slap bang in the middle of the road. That's an immovable tree as well. I mean, again, in real life, if you're ever going to use that as a road again, you just saw the tree down. There's no two ways about it. You're not just going to accept a tree in the middle of the road. I wouldn't. Wouldn't even chainsaw it down like that dynamite. Now I don't even have to chop it up and move it to the side of the road. Just bang. Splinters. That's probably, I was being a little bit lazy there, to be fair. I mean, I'm sticking a winch on that tree to kind of Spider-Man me, swing my way around, but that was more on me. I could have attempted that a little bit better, and I stalled it because I've put it in high. Kept it pinned, fingers crossed. And yeah, she bit me. You can see a lot of these rocks, sometimes, I mean, bearing in mind, it's easy to watch back and be like, how do you not see that rock? But a lot of the time, you're looking in the distance, you're looking for possible routes and all sorts. Looking for the upgrade, like, is there a kind of broken down, burnt out car sat there somewhere where I'm going to scavenge upgrades off it? Because as we all know, that's how it works in real life. And yeah, sorry, the rocks, like I said, a lot of them, like, in certain angles, because they're covered in snow, they don't show up very well. Nice. Just skim my way off that. I hate having to do a little tiny reverse just to skim like 1 inch of your bumper from hitting the tree. There's that tree in the middle of the road. I would have gone to kill it, but I know from experience that that is a immovable tree. Tell by the look of it. And again, at the minute, we're not really getting into anything technical so far. This is just kind of meandering along to the bridge. It's probably from the bridge to the next part. And I have to say, and there's credit where it's due, like, I definitely, bugs drive me mad, but yeah, I've got to praise the game's good points. This bridge, they've actually, you'll see, I kind of move the camera sideways. They've given it a little bit of flex as the weight of your truck goes over it. Not a lot, and it ain't really going to make any difference either way, but still, I respect that. I think that's pretty cool. That's a detail they didn't need to add. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind if it was just a complete solid bridge, then yeah. But that's pretty cool that they made it look like it's actually flexing with the weight. Like, if the time it took, probably that extra coding to make it do that, they could probably fix 10 little bugs. That's the sad thing about it. They do a lot of cool things in this game. They're not proactive enough on some of the little things they break along the way. This is where I'm kind of swerving off to the left. I believe this is actually right now where the road takes you anyway. You can see it's pretty normal, wide enough to drive my Zix down, but coming up is where it assumes it wants you to kind of go straight ahead. I mean, who knows, maybe it wanted you to do this route I'm taking. I've certainly noticed elements of, like, the game lets you think outside the box a little bit, but I don't know. I could also argue where I just took that loaf to the second watchtower, that wasn't them letting me think outside the box. That was something, that was an oversight that they didn't break enough to punish you for finding it. So yeah, like I said, I'm going off up to the left and we're going to get to this little building up here. And as you say, I mean, the Zix is a fairly wide truck. I've also got a maintenance trailer, which is a pain in the arse. It catches a lot of trees. Because it's so boaty and floppy and it flops side to side all the time, it leans out to the side, like there for example, further than my truck. And like I said, because there's so little room between like where it hitches to the truck, that if you get like a tree or something caught between them, you've got no room to reverse or go forward. So I'm not a fan of this trailer, but maybe at a squeeze you could get round, just with all the loafs we had, to be fair. I probably could have got round, but still. I'd say take the trailer. Worst case, you get halfway, you get it caught somewhere, fill her up one last time, cut it loose, and just be on your way. And yeah, I mean, little bits like this, there's enough room to get through these trees. It's not insane or anything. I don't need to zip a little loaf through there. I've gone a little bit over to the left from where I drew the line, but you can see, I mean, technically there's multiple paths going through these trees. Personally, I was pretty happy with the one I took because it ends up, I come out of here a little bit straighter for the next bit. I didn't really have to veer too much off to the right. But that bit there was already getting a little bit technical. Nothing crazy, but you had to watch where you go in trees and all the rest of it. This bit, I thought was very enjoyable. And again, I don't know if they intended this on purpose or not, but if they did, good for them. If they didn't, then, well, either way, it turned out good. I think I was just clipping my bumper. You still want to keep it, as we're looking at it now, over to the right, because you need, like, some of my tyres are on rock. I'm trying to get them over to that snowy bit where they've got a little bit more grip. But yeah, I mean, right now I'm having to pay attention. It's like you hit the wrong rock, you got to turn at the right time. You know, I'm swinging the camera around, I'm seeing what, like, is there trees around that can help me. A little oversight on my part. I've clipped a rock with my bumper up front. That's why I'm not moving at the minute. I'll figure it out in a couple of seconds, about now, when the winch wasn't even moving me. I was like, ah, that'll be my fault. See, I'm trying to turn hard right, but long story short, there's like immovable trees further ahead, and even better, there's not surrounded by a load of trees that just pop out of the ground, so you don't have to do like 80 winch points first before you finally find a tree that doesn't move. I mean, the tree over to the right at first kind of helped swing my nose around, then the tree straight in front kind of zips me up and over the rock. Do a hard left. And yeah, you're next to the see with the trailer. It's not the end of the world. I just stick a winch to it and kind of zip it over to the left as we're looking at it now. But yeah, it's a pain in the arse. But it's full of so many goodies that it's worth it. It's close. Did fling a little panic winch out. I don't think I needed it though. And then yeah, cut across here, take a hard left, and you basically now meet up with the main road just a hell of a lot quicker. Funnily, look, there's barriers like blocking the road. You think that's bad? We get to literal like anti-tank hedgehogs in a minute. Thankfully, not many of them, and they're pretty easy to get through. So there's a little checkpoint. That's where we are, kind of pretty much, shall we say, in the middle of the map. You can see this main road curving around the bottom of like an even bigger building with an even bigger dome thing on top. So yeah, we're going to kind of circle around the bottom of that. While you're here, just while I'm having a little checkpoint, I restocked my fuel and everything. Still got, I believe, over 1,000 litres in this trailer. And that's why I bring this trailer, because the fuel trailer has obviously only got fuel, but it just weighs so much more than this trailer. As much as this trailer is a pain in the arse and it flops all over the place, it just has no real weight to it, so it doesn't really try and carry you with it once it tips. Whereas the fuel trailer, if that tips, it eventually like locks sideways against your hitch and it'll now start trying to lever your truck over to the side. So you can go down here, there's a couple of rocks to jump over that. There's like a big wall kind of lining the whole outside of the road, so you can't really go wider than it, not that it's the end of the world. A little bit of jiggling, you can see the Lo4f flopping around on top, he's having a good old time. It's Captain Lo4f. He's steering this ship. I swear, I'm turning right the whole time. It's like, yeah, game, let me turn right then. Stop telling me I'm hitting the engine on the left when I'm turning hard right. And I will say, to be fair, the Zix sometimes has nowhere near as bad as the Tatran, but how the Tatran's steering can just vanish in an instant and you have no steering and it goes where the hell it likes. This suffers from it a little bit. I mean, I assume once it's climbing over a big rock and you've kind of got it between, say, the second and third axle, there's not a whole lot of steering input to be had, but yeah, it just has that slight feel to it where it doesn't always immediately point the way you want it to go. Like so. I know it's weird, but I wish there was another reverse gear. You see when you got like the 3 low ranges, if there was another notch below the low that was just a reverse, so you don't have to keep putting it side. It's only a little thing, I'm not really moaning about that. I just, the amount of times I drop it into low and then I'm like, oh yeah, god damn it, gotta move it over. A few more rocks to climb over there, nothing too crazy though. Again, at least there's trees nearby that you can winch to and sort of yank yourself over. I'm going along this next bit over these rocks. They're not particularly difficult, but I did at one point get my trailer hooked on the little tree you can kind of see to the left of where we're going to go. In the end I was able to rescue the trailer and everything, but it was a bit faffing around. At this point, if you really wanted to, if you're in a rush or you're just not that bothered, refill everything now and cut the trailer loose at this point. If you get it stuck, you may as well try and keep going with it if you can. You see, you get your lean on pretty good there, but again, this 6 is planted enough that it doesn't actually go. Yeah, you see my trailer, it literally clips that tree there. It does now, this time, but it just levers it round enough to where it comes off it, so I got away with it. But yeah, if it really did hook there, like I said, get your supplies and then just cut it loose for now. Because we're not too far from the end, you'll easily have more than enough fuel by now. So I suppose to a degree we've kind of gone round that bend at the bottom. We're now kind of heading back up the map for the way I had it orientated. There's the watchtower somewhere over there. It was my fault here, I swerved too far over to the left. These are these like anti-tank hedgehog things, and you want to approach like how I am now, come from like the right and have a nice sweeping go at it. That way you just thread the whole truck and trailer in one nice smooth go. Again, I assume obviously it's like a missile defence base or whatever. I mean, what, it ain't gonna stop a loaf. Might be anti-tank hedgehog things, but they ain't anti-loaf. He gets anywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. He's a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Yeah, in front of me was where the bridge is out, so you want to swerve off to the right, kind of follow this hill down. And yeah, this is where we're going to have to drive over a bit of death ice. But again, actually, to be fair, no, I'll take that back. It's about normal, balanced ice. We'll actually call it balanced ice. I think it deserves that. See, because where to my next marker, again, this is restaged, but when I was originally doing it, I was like, oh no, this is going to take me another half an hour to 45 minutes. I was like, oh, hang on a minute, actually, this is not bad. There's a tiny little bit here that gets you for a second, but you kind of bump back out of it. It becomes a little bit shallower again, and that's just enough to where you kind of motor along at normal speed, which I appreciate. If I was to add that clip of where it took me half an hour, 45 minutes, I'd probably have to speed it up by 8 times, which is the most I can do, then render the clip, and then speed it up another 8 times as its own clip again. Speed it up like 64 times, and it'd probably still take nearly a minute on the screen to watch me travel 3 or 4 truck and trailer lengths. So we're over the other side of that river, kind of jumping over a few rocks, back to a road now, which is where I said you can, in theory, possibly could go to the left, but I'm definitely going right. It works, I know it works, and that's the way I recommend. So just a quick recap overview of the map. Yeah, that's where we veered down over the ice, and we're now onto this road. As I said, that's where you could, in theory, go up around here and connect to there, but it's the other side of that bridge. I would just, yeah, go up here, and we're all good. Just one last little look. Again, most of that line is to the upgrade, or about half that line was to the upgrade. It's pretty easy going up this road, and the next little bits we're doing is not really anything too tricky now, as far as like the Zix goes. Well, I mean, what is tricky to the loaf? Not really anything. It's trained for such terrain. Where you want to take your left-hander. Start climbing up the mountain a bit now. You'll see at some point when I get up here there'll be another Zix kind of abandoned in the trees. That was my original one that made it to this point. My trailer is well, I mean, considering I've only scouted this map, probably I've got 4 or 5 free-range trailers already. This rock in front, it looks like you can go round to the right of it. Don't send it under your chassis. Because if you go over to the right, you'll see when I spin the camera around, the camber is a lot worse than it kind of looks, and you will tip. Like, if you just send the rock under your chassis, at least you stay flat enough that, yeah, you ain't going to tip. And to be fair, that is probably actually the last little bit of difficulty as far as the Zix driving goes. Keep following up here. At this point, if I followed the road kind of just straight on, I'd get to that point where there's like a little river kind of that cuts across the road. But yeah, I want to go left here. It's basically a road. It's clearly been kind of cleared out as a route to be able to go. But they've obviously intended this purely for scouts, because I can't think of any truck skinny enough that would get through. I don't think there is. And the Tachin wouldn't. So it's going to kind of require some kind of scout, basically. Maybe they intended that new Sentinel thing or whatever it is, but I don't know. All I know is the horse is goddamn professional, tried and tested, and I know it works. So that's what I'm taking. There's me other Zix abandoned. I'm just getting the Zix to about here, so it's a bit flat. Refuel and everything. The Lo4f's already good because he's just been packed on the roof the whole time. Switch to me Lo4f. And he rolled. I was like, oh, you beast. It wouldn't have mattered. I'd just jump in the sideboard and get out the back, but keep the handbrake on, build the revs, release. Yeehaw. And he's off. Release the Lo4fs. Yeah, it's this gap here. I mean, again, the Lo4f. He's definitely succulent, but he's also skinny when he needs to be. You ain't getting a truck through there. I was like, oh yeah. so eager to get setting off with me Lo4f, I forgot to have a quick route recap. So there's that little river that's like, you don't want to get to that point, veer off left before. Yeah, squeeze through the little gap, that's what she said. Follow along the cliff edge, and you can see it's not too far now. We're only like, oh yeah, a couple of minutes away really. And this is another thing I like about the Lo4f. It's very good at not tipping. It's very good at climbing over rocks for how small the Lo4f is. And it's got ridiculously good turning circles, so it's very nimble, like switching left and right for the best little routes through the rocks. And as far as like the way the terrain interacts with the vehicles, I don't believe any Scout would have much difference. It almost depends what wheels you've got, and every set of wheels is kind of limited to what feels like the same degree in this terrain, so I really don't think it'd make much difference. I believe actually right now I've got the top engine in this, and I don't think that makes any difference either for this kind of terrain anyway. Like I said, maybe it's a little bit punchier at getting up to speed. I need to do like as and when, I mean it'll happen naturally, it's bound to, but when I roll some vehicles I'll obviously flip them back with the... That's what I was checking there. The durability of the engine is only 70 on the new engine. It used to be 170, but as someone was saying in the comments, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you've got your roof rate, just fix it, it doesn't really matter. There's less points to get damaged in the first place, so it's, in some ways, you could argue it's better. So getting along that cliff edge, like, it's, Lo4f does it pretty well. I personally wouldn't recommend chained, even though, like, yeah, they didn't feel good on the rocks anyway, and I believe the muds go through the snow better, and they're good enough. It's the full fat horse. Well, it is now. Now he's got his top engine. This last little bit, it's a little bit slow through the snow, but you can just keep flinging winches everywhere, so probably quicker than the Zix would do it anyway, or anything else. And this is the last watchtower. Launch observation. That one's actually not a bad view. You can kind of see those domes in the distance. Big rock looks a little bit like a middle finger in the foreground. Done. Beat the old horn, victory horn, certainly earned it. And then, yeah, there's a quick overview of the map, that's the whole thing. Again, there's a few extra patches, say, unfogged for me. Like, I went looking for the upgrade round there, zipping all over here, everywhere. I did a few prototype trailer things, but this is the map, you'll have it uncovered, you can see everything. Yeah, so from the watchtower, just go back, like, to the little road we were going along. Keep following along the cliffs up there. I mean, again, you can see on the map where it's kind of carved out a little path. Yeah, this little bit, you're basically aiming for that little bit down there, and when you get to the road, but instead of going into that little town section, you just need to keep heading towards the water. And again, yeah, I thought it's worth leaving in. I'll kind of... I could have done it as a separate video, but as it's like the map exploration, I may as well just get it done. And there's a few sections that are a bit slow here, nothing too crazy though. Again, I think the Lo4f was actually did a hell of a lot better, considering like the Lo4f, I mean, any scouts are not really made for this super snow and super mud stuff because they're just small vehicles that, yeah. This thing, yeah, was actually, like, in a lot of sections, was going a lot quicker than I thought the game would allow me to. It's probably one of the slowest bits here, just trying to get back from the watchtower to this little road. But you'll see as we go along ahead, there's yeah, a few more little cliff bits, which again are pretty fun though, because it's like, it's easy enough that it's not insane, but it's difficult enough that if you don't pay attention, it'll bite you. And if at this point you flew your Lo4f off the cliff and rolled it and all the rest of it, I personally would recommend just instantly, like, hold the PS button, turn the game off, and hope that it reloads before you did it, because it's going to be some serious recovery option, or recover to Erska River and bring a Lo4f all the way back to the entrance, then bring it all the way across, like, 50 minutes of video I've just shown you, just to get attempt number 2 at it. At this point it's kind of 2 wheels on the rocks, 2 on the snow. Kind of found a nice balance between speed and grip. You can see even this set, even if you somehow got the Zix to that last watchtower, I personally wouldn't really want to be driving a lorry, like a truck down here. I'm only being a bit like casual there because I can always fling a winch out to one of them trees. That's why I ran over that little tree there. Kill the one tree that's movable. That leaves me with nothing but, or mostly, immovable trees that won't suddenly snap out of the ground and make me go flying off the cliff. And again, that's what I like about the Lo4f, he's a zippy little beast that jumping across all these little bits. He's yeah, good old time. This tree, just make sure you give it a little bit of a wide berth because it's got some seriously super OP branches. You got grip on you for dear life, man. Even when I had a winch to these other trees, it was not wanting to let go. But you can see again, like everywhere I'm going, there has been like you're essentially following, like there's a load of trees down the edge of the map, and you're essentially following like the edge of the trees. But yeah, everywhere I'm going now, there is a little walkway kind of cut out where it kind of does intend to allow you to go. I mean, the only bit of freestyling we really did was that second watchtower with the blue Lo4f, just full on up the mountain. And I have to say, as you can see, that was one of the best little drives of this map. A few more rocks to climb over. You see, that's stuff like that's where the Tatran really wouldn't like that. And the other nice thing as well, with the Lo4f being as light as it is, those movable trees, you can still grab on them and pull against them and move the Lo4f like a truck or the Tatran would just instantly pop them out of the ground because they're just too heavy. But yeah, the Lo4f is light enough where you can actually use some of those mobile winch points. Not like if you're about to fall off a cliff and you grab one, it's probably not going to do like help with that, but just as you're driving along like this, if you get hooked on something slightly or whatever, it's yeah, they offer enough resistance to bump you over a little rock or whatever, steer your front or back end in a more favourable way. And again, a little bit like that trees and move like it, that could pop out the ground. I didn't really notice this the first time I went around. There's a bridge there just going off the left. I don't think you need it for anything at the minute. It doesn't. I looked. It doesn't really lead anywhere that is really going to make any difference at the minute. But yeah, I didn't even see the thing the first time. So we're about at the top of the hill now. Coming up soon, there's like a little a downhill section. I'll show you the bit. There's some rocks that blend in pretty well, and you kind of look like there's a rock in front that, yep, you're just going to swerve around that, and then suddenly you sort of hit these other rocks. gives you a bit of a tank slapper and flicks your back end in the air, so just watch out for that. Because again, if you roll at this point, it's just, unless you do the turn the game on and off kind of trick, and again, do that at your own risk. I'm kind of recommending it, but it's just one of them. I don't want to, I take that chance with my own game, and I've done it hundreds of times and it's never broke my game or anything, but I'm just saying, like, do it at your own risk. If you don't trust it or you think it could corrupt your save or something, there. See, when I turn the camera around, there is a load of rocks on the road there, but from the way I was approaching, they just all look pure white. But down here, I'm making pretty nice progress. Gets a little bit, yeah, slow. I think it's at this point, but this is why, one of the reasons why, if you can risk just not taking an autonomous winch, having the extra reach on the advanced winch just makes a little bits like this easy. You can just reach stuff a lot further and pull yourself through the bits of super snow quicker. Like the blue loaf, I went for an autonomous because the biggest factor was rolling there when you're on the side of a steep mountain. There wasn't really anywhere where I needed like extreme reach with the winch. It was just more I needed a winch to work on the off chance I tip on an awkward angle and I'm not quite able to fire up the engine, etc. And yeah, you keep following down here, and like I said, originally I was going down here, and then when I meet back up with the road, I went off to that little settlement in the bottom corner. And the upgrade must be like another 5 or 10 yards away from where you are. Like, you just don't uncover it. There's my prototype trailer that I left. Yeah, the first time I was zipping around here. That's how I found the bloody thing in the end. Like, I went to that settlement, an hour or two of scouting around the map. Eventually, I went and got another loaf and brought a prototype trailer. And then I was doing the radaring everywhere. But yeah, to my right is that little settlement, but like I said, just go straight ahead and you can see like the little car now on the, again, because it's half covered in snow, it blends in pretty, you could easily just mistake that for a rock. There's me loaf that actually made it there yesterday. So obviously there's no thing to click on here, but it's the engine, the K something, KR180 or whatever. Yeah, it fits on the Cairn Marshall, the loaf, I believe the Don 71 and possibly the Scout 800, was it? I'm surprised it didn't fit in that new Sentinel vehicle we got given, but whatever. Here he is, friend loafs. They're going to chill there now, have a beer and a chat. And yeah, that's about it. Like I said, there's that little settlement in the bottom corner. That is exactly where the upgrade is, kind of the opposite end really from that's the gateway. Job done. And that's about it for today. Yeah. I hope that helps though, just while I was messing around on this last little bit of talking. I went back to this clicky green radiation section. It does actually look like a spaceship. It's all got like a metallic look and all the rest of it, but that rocket booster next to me looks like human made, so I don't know. Just some kind of spaceship dumping ground. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you've enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf, because he's a goddamn professional. And I'll be back soon.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
People know me.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Sure.
I want to say something. I want to put it out there. And if you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back. I want to be on you.
Well, you certainly know how to compliment a woman. Well, if you'll excuse me.
Wait. I want to be on you.